we invited Representative McCormick, since this is congressional recess time. So presumably he's not in Washington. Lord knows they're not in Washington working right now. And we emailed his chief of staff, and we hand-delivered an invitation. We received no response, so he is, as I say, Schrodinger's representative. He's neither a yes nor a no, so I'm guessing he's not coming because he's not here, but if he comes in late, we'll be more than happy to welcome him and catch him up on what he missed. So since he's not here, we're going to videotape this and make sure he gets it, and like I said, we're also taking down all of your questions. We'll make sure they get posed to him because we are his constituents, and we demand some answers. So in place of Mr. McCormick, we have a backup. So we have the 2022 and 2024 nominee for Congress running against him, Mr. Bob Christian. He is a wonderful candidate, a wonderful husband, father, veteran, business owner, super all-around great dude. So he will, I guess, do his best to channel.
There is not a single piece of legislation that man has co-sponsored that is made it out of committee, much less to the floor, much less for a vote. And not a single piece of those legislations, not one, includes any reference to the district that he represents. Mr. McCormick has been invited to multiple events like this, all across the district. We invited him to events in Dawson County. He's been invited to events in Cherokee County. He's been invited to events in Forsyth, Fulton. Name the counties in his district, and we have invited him to come and talk to us. A full 1/3 of his constituency that just so happens to not agree with him. So he ignores us. He doesn't care. And the problem is through that he has ignored his entire district. And so Mr. McCormick doesn't have any reason to show up here. He doesn't have any need to show up here. And he doesn't care. And as a result, we, in this room in particular, are not getting the representation that we deserve. And across this entire district, no matter whether you're on the right or the left, we're being represented by a man that just does not care. And therefore, no one is getting the representation they deserve. And that's where the answer lies, and that's what I hope we can do in this room tonight. And that phone right there, we're going to go ahead and and talk kind of to the chair, because that's what we're going to do.
I am very concerned about the boarding sites. And as a physician, I would like to think that you would speak out against some of this. And I want to ask, do you have the courage to call out Trump on his proclamation that pregnant women should not take Tylenol even with a fever, that they should suffer through it? As a physician, I know you know how dangerous that is. So I would really hope that you would stand up when these kind of unscientific recommendations come out.
Hi there, Mr. McCormick. My name is Mateo Sanabria. I'm actually running for the Georgia State House of Representatives in District 28. And part of me running, part of the things that I'm worried about is, you've said in the past that a blanket rule that gives all kids lunches in high school is wrong. That kids should not have free lunches, and that they're capable of getting a job and doing something that makes them have value. How many kids don't even have a car? How many Americans are struggling to own a house, a garage that can actually store multiple cars? This is a real issue, and when someone came up to you and said, many children are not of working age, you said, my guideline doesn't apply to everybody. You know what would apply to everybody? If you came forward and said, we're going to provide free school lunches for every child across the United States, and you know how you could have paid for it? The tax cuts. You say on your campaign website that you were going to provide tax cuts to the middle class Americans. And you did. Very mean. But you also made sure that the wealthiest Americans got huge tax cuts. 1% for them is astronomically larger than 20, 30, 100% of us. So, I want to ask, how are you making sure that we actually support middle-class Americans economically? And how have the tax breaks that you've given to the wealthiest Americans taken more money than it would have cost just to give kids lunches?
My name's Tyler Hollowell. I live in Dawsonville, Georgia. I was born in Dawsonville, Georgia. I've been there for a very long time. I migrated my wife from coming to Dawsonville, Georgia. I bought my grandmother's home. The only way I could get it is when she got cancer. She had to leave. And I'm so lucky that the opportunity she gave us to start a life, and there's constant roadblocks. I'm mad. Congressman McCormick co-sponsored a bill to block federal funding for abortion, even in cases of rape or incest, and he voted against protecting Roe v. Wade. Those votes strip women of life-saving health care and put politicians between families and their doctors. And here's the part that's so hard to stomach. You're a doctor. You swore an oath to do no harm, but in Congress, you've chosen politics over patients. Then, you double down with the SAVE Act, a bill that creates barriers for women, especially wives who've changed their names after marriage, making it harder for them to vote. Congressman, from attacking women's health care to undermining their ballots, it looks like you're afraid of women. So I'm not afraid of my wife or any of yours. No. How do you justify calling yourself a healer when using your office to hurt women and silence their voices? Congressman McCormick loves to call himself pro-jobs, but his voting record proves otherwise. He voted against the infrastructure bill that's rebuilding America and against clean energy investments that would have put thousands of electricians, linemen, and skilled tradesmen like myself to work right here in Georgia. That's work for my brothers and sisters in the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local Union 613. We're ready for that work. He blocked it. Congressman, you swore an oath to represent this district, but instead you're killing jobs for the people who actually build it. Tell us, why are you fighting harder for corporate interests in Washington than for the working men and women of Georgia?
Congressman McCormick, I am concerned about the discussions that are going on now where we're proposing bailouts for farmers. Now, I know that farmers already get plenty of government subsidies, and I'm okay with that. But what's happening now with this bumper crop of corn and no market is a self-inflicted wound. They all voted for it. They knew it was coming. They could have prepared for it. Now, Trump told us that he was going to do tariffs, and he didn't mind reciprocal tariffs. We were told that we'd have 90 deals in 90 days back in April. I don't think we have one. So I want you to make sure that when you go back to Congress, if there's any discussion or any proposal to bail out farmers, that you'll vote no. Because I don't want my taxpayers going to help farmers who basically voted for this crisis that they produce.
Hi, my name is Joe Wagner, and I'm a constituent of yours in District 7. I have a very short, simple question. Will you commit to vote for a full release of the Epstein files? If not,
Hi, my name is Nathan Homberg, and I'm from Johns Creek.
Congressman, my question for you is, how are you standing by as the Trump administration eviscerates our public health system? As a physician, sir, how are you okay with the damage that Donald Trump and RFK Jr. are doing to health policy and our national public health? Here in Georgia, we have one of the worst public health systems in the country. The damage that they're doing through the immunization policy, the legislation that's been passed, is going to take generations to overcome. And where are you, sir? I'm running for state senate in Georgia against fake elector Sean Still to fight for health all across this state. We need accessible, affordable health care for every Georgian. And we need state and local politicians who will shield us from the insane decisions that the Trump administration is doing out of the White House and out of Congress for Mr. McCormick.
Congressman, I'm a retired law enforcement officer and a veteran, and you discussed me. You allowed President Trump to pardon insurrectionists. Why?
This was for, obviously, McCormick. So, if you're not aware, there's the increase in import taxes, which, because the businesses have stockpiled so much, we haven't seen too much effect yet. But as time progresses, we're at that point where businesses are running out of that backstock. They're having to order at these increased prices. They cannot keep cheap prices in stores. And this is especially important with our small local businesses, which can no longer order small quantities using the de minimis tax, which Trump has just executive signed away. So businesses in Forsyth County are having to shutter because of inability to order cheap goods, inability to order their stock generally, as well as increased property taxes. And this affects everyone from Democrat to Republican, like, for example, Freedom Mill, which just closed. I'm not a big fan of Freedom Mill, to be admitted, but I know a lot of people that are. And this shows that it's not just Democrats and Republicans. This is everyone being affected locally. So this hits every level of the economy. What are you doing to help support small businesses and ensure that Forsyth County not only doesn't stagnate and revert to something where we don't have a functioning economy, but continues to grow?
Hi, I'm Liz Garrison. I live in Swanee, just up the road. I have two kids. Both of them were born female, but one of my children is transsexual. And this isn't a kitchen table issue, and I recognize that. But I'm so hurt by the constant demonization, but greatly misunderstood and small group of citizens in our country. I want to be able to take my child to the doctor and not have to worry about whether that doctor is going to call Child Protective Services on me because I'm seeking gender-affirming care for them. I shouldn't have to check on my child multiple times a day to make sure that they haven't harmed themselves. It's not fair as a parent that I'm forced to shoulder this burden because the current administration thinks that my child is an abomination. You are an abomination for not standing up for children.
Do better.
Congressman McCormick, my name is Vivian Hollowell. Now, your platform was all about family values. However, when you went to D.C., you quickly abandoned that, and your wife. Now,
Second
you can
wife.
see from that powerful message, you
You've also abandoned families and children here. All I have to say is, where are your family values now?
Rich. I'm not even going to call you congressman because you're not acting like one. So I have a question for you, Rich. Do you believe that all people are created equal? No? Okay. Well, what about in life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? Do you believe in that? If you do, then vote for it. Because you have people like this woman who's worried about her trans child and what to do and how to react and how to parent in a world that is so, in a world that just belittles people in general. We're better than that. We should be. We're all Americans. We were all created equally. That's what we learned when we were in school, is it not? So why are we voting against that? Why are some people put on pedestals like corporate sponsors when you have your constituents back here who can't pay their light bill?
Yeah.
Have a good day.
Mr. McCormick, my name is Joan Herman. I've been a resident of Forsyth County for 33 years. My two questions have been touched so far, but what I want to know is, what are women supposed to do who want to vote, who changed their names when they were married? They no longer have matching IDs. And the second question I want you to answer is, what are people supposed to do who no longer have Medicaid, when that is their only source of medical coverage, and one car accident can throw them into a lifetime of debt? You need to answer, when you make decisions, to the consequences of those decisions that you support. Tell us. Thank you.
So this is from a friend that I had on TikTok Live last night. But she wanted to know, like many other congresspeople, when is the last time you had to worry about buying groceries, or keeping the lights on, or struggling to pay, deciding which bill you want to pay? Folks here are hungry and are scared of losing their homes and cars. So, when's the last time?
That's a good question. Submissions come from online?
We do. We have submissions online. So we have I assume it's addressed to Representative McCormick. As a physician and a congressman who swore to uphold the Constitution, why do you think this administration is tearing apart and defunding medicine, research funding, and public health, and does not protect its citizens?
So I think what we've seen in all of the questions tonight is the theme that this administration has launched what they call their values, their ideas, their conservative viewpoint of what's going on. But it is quite literally an attack on everything that we in this room have ever stood for. It's an attack on education. It's an attack on science. It's an attack on medicine. It's an attack on women's health. It's an attack on healthcare in general. And there is no real concrete reason behind why this is occurring. There's no good explanation we can give from anywhere. And it's not a wonder. To be quite honest with you, if I were Mr. McCormick, I wouldn't show up either, because there are no answers to this kind of callous, belligerent, ugly behavior, other than you are a callous, ignorant, ugly person. Coward. That's what they're attacking for, because that bond that keeps us together as communities, as people, because our teachers brought up every child in our community. Our parents, if we're doing it right, we're also part of raising every child in our communities. People ask me all the time about some of the friends I have on my Facebook page and my background that do not agree with us at all, that have gone the dark side, as it were. They're there because they're a member of my community. They're part of who raised me. They're part of who I am. They're where I came from. And we have to remember that, because that's what's going to get us through this, and that's what's being attacked. And so please, find it deep, hard, somewhere that when these questions come up, don't get mad. Don't push them away. Don't yell and cajole or complain as much as we want to and know we should. Stop for a second. Take that breath and go, okay, much like we've done tonight. So did you vote for this administration? If you did, then you're getting what you wanted. And remember this always. This is the one weapon that we as Democrats in the state of Georgia have and don't use near as much as we should. Republicans have been running the state for 22 years in a row. every single level of government. Period. End of story. Any problem in this state right now is a Republican problem. Never forget that.
Do you have any intention of using your congressional powers, or are you going to continue allowing POTUS to have control over congressional matters, such as your power of the purse and the fact that the current Congress is allowing him to set aside monies Congress had previously approved? Because if you have no intentions to assert your power and actually do your job, I'm not sure why we need to pay for you to be in D.C. as our representative.
Nothing more to say on that.
On that note, about paying him, I would love to see an answer to a question from him. Do you think that you should be receiving $174,000 a year? You should be receiving the median salary of Georgia. You should make sure that you have to represent the people that you do. Because if you don't, you're not getting paid.
There it is.
Online. Someone is asking what McCormick is going to do specifically about Georgia's tax dollars being wasted on twice as much Medicaid administration as actual Medicaid health care.
Quite honestly, I would say based on the current trend, he's going to try to get rid of it.
All right, we have a few questions that were submitted perhaps by shy people on cards, so I'll read off some of those. Dr. McCormick, do you prescribe Tylenol? Apparently, if you do, you are responsible for, like, all autism, I guess.
Wow, just some.
Representative McCormick, why do we only see or hear from you at election time? Where have you been the rest of the year when people need you?
His new girlfriend.
Yeah. Probably in Texas. I hear he spends a lot of time there.
Yeah, lots of healthcare. Why are you more focused on banning books than helping our kids get the education they deserve? What do you think of the USAID cuts?
But he voted in favor of those cuts 4 times, so I'm going to assume that he's in favor of those.
What is your vision for public education? Don't all American children deserve a great education? No. Do you support the Trump administration removing the cap on insulin? It costs $2 to $4 to produce a vial of insulin, but today on GoodRx, one vial is going for $70 to $170. Have you considered the 25th Amendment, Section 4? Have you listened to Trump? That's the amendment that allows you to declare the president incompetent or unable. How can you support the man? He is clearly down the path to dementia and is a clear danger to the country. Yeah. I have one last question for me.
Okay, go for it.
All right. Representative McCormick, I am a small business owner, self-employed, who has been getting health care through the ACA since day one. Thank you, Obama. Thanks, Obama. So next year I'm going to pay probably at least $1,000 more. And I don't qualify for any of your very targeted tax cuts because this bill contained a lot of tax cuts for the rich, with the estate tax and business tax cuts and keeping their real nice tax bracket cuts. And then there was just a smattering of tax giveaways to people who own homes, buy new cars, only new, not used, get tips, get overtime, are over 65, or have a child. I am and have none of those things. So I'm just paying more, and I'm not getting anything in return that I was, I was promised a tax cut. So why on earth would I ever vote for you or any other Republican ever again? Okay, first of all,
we are defunding cancer research in the United States. The United States is the biggest funder of cancer research. And I want to know why you're letting that happen and not speaking out. You're a doctor. I've had cancer. It's personal. And my second question is, we have people in this county that may or may not be documented that are disappearing. A mother with 2 or 3 children, she just disappeared. She went to her green card hearing, as she was supposed to do, and she disappeared. And the answer I got from your office was, well, we'll make sure she has her paperwork together. Not, I will get her out of detention because she belongs in Forsyth. And I want to know, why aren't you defending our residents? It may or may not be documented, but absolutely belong here with us. Thanks.
Hello, Congressman McCormick. I've been by your office a couple of times and you haven't been there, and now you're not here tonight either. But I have a couple of questions that follow up on what people have said that, as a doctor, I've even heard you say that working in the ER, you've seen what happens to a child's body when they've been killed by gunfire. I want to know what you are going to do to create common sense gun legislation in our country and cut back on the number of children who are killed daily behind guns. Please do something. That's why we asked you to go there. That's why you were voted to go there. I didn't vote for you, but you're my guy, so please do something. Thank you.
Now that the Senate has enough votes, will you fully support releasing all the Epstein files unedited and unredacted?
Ladies and gentlemen, that was an absolutely wonderful event. Thank you so very much. I think we did exactly what we wanted to do tonight. We were able to air our grievances, talk a little bit about what's important to us, and do it in a way that lets him know that we need representation. We need that representation, as was said multiple times in this room. I don't think any of us in these seats voted for the man, but he is the man that represents the 7th District. And we need that representation. And at this stage of the game, he's not just ignoring us. He's ignoring the entire district. Once the Republicans in this region found out that we were doing this tonight, they threw together an event down the road. They too invited him to his event. Their event, Republican event, called How to Get Involved in Grassroots Politics. You want to go? He's not there. No, I do not want to go. But he's not at that event either. He's ignoring everybody in the district except for the people that have money. Period. And my only question is this, and it was touched on earlier, and it was actually a brilliant question. The way our government is set up is that we have 3 co-equal branches of government. Each branch is its own independent authority on the expertise and rules given to it by the United States Constitution, which he swore an oath to defend. And we are watching Congress be shredded. And my biggest concern is not so much the damage that Mr. Trump is doing, although he is doing an incredible amount of worrisome damage. The precedent that we and our Congress and our congressmen are allowing to have set what's going to happen when the next guy gets that office. What's going to happen when all of a sudden this abuse of power that we are seeing right now is just the norm. No president in history, good or bad, has ever given back power. And that's what I worry about. And if our Congress doesn't stand up as a body and defend its own power, then it really doesn't matter who we send to the executive branch afterwards. They are quite literally just going to be more and more powerful. We won't have representation. It just won't make a difference. And that's my concern. And so what we need is a congressman not only willing to show up and talk to us when it's hard, but willing to challenge the people that he is there with when they go directly against the Constitution of the United States. And he's not doing that. It was said earlier, and I agree with it, he is a feckless coward, and we need to make sure that he loses his seat in November. Yeah.